There is an indefinable, mysterious power that pervades everything. That power that can make a way out of no way.
Today, in the world, there's so much suffering because of that one of prayer.
Welcome to the main event. Welcome, everybody. This is the Prayer Revolution. We're so glad to have you here. My name is Doyal, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host Vira. And we're here to say our morning prayer and welcoming all these great souls. I see Jeff, AJ, Vivi, George, Rohini, Aditi, Pat, Bhakti Louie, and Bhakti Louie's dog, as well as Bryn and all of our good friends tuning on Instagram Live. We got ourselves going live on Instagram, and we also have a live Zoom group that's here. It's like our live, not live, distantly live, socially distant live studio audience. We're glad to have everybody here, and we start our day off with a prayer. Vira Budra leads us in a morning prayer, and then we discuss bringing the mood of prayer into our daily lives. So, turn it over to you, Vira.
Super grateful to be with you, Doyal. Grateful to be with you guys. And let's take a moment to pause our day. Let's pause whatever it is we're doing right now, whatever is going on right now in our hearts, in our minds. Physically, we're active. Let us pause. Let us take these moments to pause. Give ourselves those moments to reconnect and to set our spiritual intention. What is it that we want to bring into our day? What state of consciousness do we want to bring into our day to surcharge everything that we do with that quality? Just coming to that clarity within your own heart. What is it that you're looking to bring into your day today? What is it that you're looking to experience today? Connecting to your full body breaths, breathing the deepest breaths you've taken all day so far. Getting into that position in your mind, in your heart, physically to receive support from a higher power, support from this prayer. My dear Lord, I'm yours. Every moment of my life, I'm searching for meaning and I'm searching for truth. Help me to be grateful so that I can walk through the doorway of abundance that is before me in every moment, the abundance of the opportunity to serve, the abundance of the opportunity to connect. When I keep my mind fixed on you, when I bring my mind back to the goal of what it is that you want from me, a life of love, a life of fulfillment, a life of challenge, a life of growth, a life of transformation, a life of service. There's a deep inner fulfillment that we're all seeking. My Lord, help us to experience that fulfillment right now, just a little bit in this prayer. Help us to feel that connection with you and make that our focus, make that our goal of our life. There's so many things that we have to do day in and day out just to maintain our body, to perform our duties for work, to perform our duties for family. But let those all be supports to help us to awaken ourselves spiritually so that we can bring that intention to serve, that intention to love, that intention to uplift others into every moment of our life. We're seeking that meaning, we're seeking that fulfillment, and it's had when we express our hearts in service to you, in service to all your children. So asking just to help us to see that window of that beautiful life that you want for us. We'll experience the challenges of this world. We'll experience the ups and the downs. We'll experience so many different things in this life. But help us to stay fixed and focused. There's a prize of each moment. That's why they call it the presence. It's a present. It's a gift that you give us each moment to serve, to love, to remember. So please help us right now in these moments to remember that it is in serving, it is in giving that we receive that greatest joy that we're seeking. And help us to have the courage to bring that intention, to bring that consciousness into our day that unfolds. We live to give. We live to serve. Please empower us to be able to do so. Awaken that natural tendency of our soul to be able to do so. And call out your holy names to empower us, to help us feel that connection with you today. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you, Vira, so much from the heart.
Thank you, DG. Thank you for being with me and helping me to find my heart.
I'm always there. I got the flashlight. I'll hold your flashlight.
I love it, Baba. I love it. Yes, yes. Shine the light. You shine the light just by being, just your presence, just your very presence. It is like a lighthouse that is a beacon for truth and that gives us all direction, gives us hope.
Oh, Krishna.
That's what it is, Baba. That's what it is.
How are things going down there in Florida? So you got the fan on in the morning. You guys warm down there?
You know what? I put the fan on in this room. I've been cleaning up this little office. I got a cute little office here, right on the highway in downtown Alachua, and it's in a building that actually, if you guys have ever heard of Krishna.com, is an awesome online company that sells all these great devotional items, books and so many different things. And I'm actually in their building, their headquarters, and they had an office. They had intern offices and different things like that. And they had an office that was available for rent. So I'm around some great people every single day. At least I get to say hi to them. And they gave me this little office that hadn't been used in a long time. So cleaned it up and keep putting energy into it. And so I put the fan on just to get some air moving.
Mm. AJ said they're probably tired of seeing his address pop up because he's got so many packages from them.
Yeah.
He's a gold star member.
Yeah. Awesome. And how about you, Doyal? How you doing today, buddy? What's on your heart? What's on your mind? What are some reflections that you're having about life?
I've got no fans on over here because it's still cold in New York City in May. Don't know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Still waiting. I was a friend of mine, our friend Joseph, who came with us to India in January. I was talking with him on the phone yesterday, and he's mostly been staying upstate, but he had to come back into the city to get something. And he had snow the other day.
Yeah, and upstate.
Upstate. It's like, what? It's like, I don't know. And so
it is
global warming finally stopped because everyone's staying inside, and now it's snowing. Like Mother Nature's like making up for lost time. I don't know. But no, otherwise it's been you want to know something that happened to me yesterday? I had this little scare with our dog Jiva. We took him for a walk and he came back in from a walk. He's a 4-month-old little cockapoo, and he was just acting really funny and strange. And I was in my side room office here just doing some work, but my wife took him for a walk, and we actually had 2 people over because my wife was doing a photo shoot for her clothing line that she's about to launch for the spring summer online. And they were noticing also, like, he was kind of like, he was sleeping for a long time. He was losing his balance. And then my wife took him out for a walk and he seemed to be okay. But then he was just like, he would be kind of like swaying back and forth like this a little bit with his head. And then finally, when she brought him back inside for the walk, like he went to go up these little stairs that he normally just jumps up, and he just like completely toppled over himself and lost his balance. And my wife walked in and was like, something's wrong with our dog. And I was like, I took him for a walk and he was playing with another dog earlier that day. And it was a little bit of a bigger dog. And I thought, oh my God, like maybe he has like a concussion or something. I really thought he had like a concussion. And so we actually, I canceled my meeting. We took him to the emergency vet. We took him there, and I remember driving there with this like great fear and worry of like, oh my God, like what is wrong? Because also he's a little pup, like what if this is like permanent damage? And I remember thinking in my head, like, this is like, I was like, man, being a parent is so brutal. And I just have a dog. Imagine if you had like human kids. I was like, I couldn't imagine. I was like, this is brutal, you know? And I just thought like, wow. And I just remember thinking like, what would I tell myself? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm now the listener of the podcast wanting to get some comfort and some wisdom. And I was like, it's not so easy. And a part of me was thinking like, man, am I insensitive sometimes when I'm just telling people like, think of a higher power and everything's going to be okay? And I was like, that's not what I need to hear right now. You know, like life sucks. And so I just remember I was going through all those emotions. And then because of COVID-19, we couldn't go into the hospital vet. We just had to drop him off at the door and they took him in. And then we went for a little walk. We were like talking, distracting ourselves. And then they finally called my wife back. And she said, you know, this is something that's common very often, especially in Brooklyn. We see this a lot. These symptoms seem pretty recognizable. It's very common in Brooklyn that dogs, when they're roaming the streets, will ingest marijuana that's been left on the ground. And it will, you know, cause all these symptoms of, you know, just like swaying side to side, dripping his pee, shaking a little bit, losing his balance. And we're like, oh, I thought it was a concussion, but he's just having a bad trip. And so they said, like, there's nothing we can do. They said, you can do a drug test, but it won't come back for a few days. And if the symptoms go away in the next 24 hours, he should be fine. Said otherwise, if they don't go away, come back and we'll have to do further tests for something, you know, if it's something congenial with his liver or something like that. And so we just took him home, and we just, you know, he threw up a little bit, and he was just like, just going like shaking, losing his, totally off, like completely not himself. And then,
Jiva was partying like a rock
oh
star
my
when his
God.
parents weren't looking.
Yeah. I mean, we it was just, and so it was just, you know, I was talking with Kastuba yesterday, our good friend. He was like, yeah, I hope it's not a gateway drug and get into other things. And I said, well, you know, he's been hanging out with these puppies in the neighborhood. I've been telling him to stay away, and you know, he just keeps hanging out with these other puppies.
Bad
But
association, bro. Bad association.
and so anyway, so it was kind of, you know, last night it was kind of funky, but then this morning he kind of woke up and he seems to be his normal self. So that kind of seems what it is. But it was
Was he
just kind of,
itching to? Was he itching to get back on the street? Get back out for
what's the
another?
thing? It wasn't like, you know, it's like for a dog, it was like poison for, it wasn't like he was like high. It was like a bad trip of just like, he just totally
He was out
disoriented.
of it. Yeah.
He was out of it, and just like, you know, probably wasn't enjoyable for him at all. But Jiva putting on fish tracks. I was a fish fan, AJ, by the way. I've seen them in concert, but anyways, and so it was, you know, that was just like
He's in
that
his
was just a week.
teenage years. You know, he's in his teenage years. You know, he's what? He's about like, you know, 11 years old right now, and just, you know, experimenting. He's a young explorer, and you know, he got too big of a dose, and now maybe he's thinking twice about it.
Yeah, but the doctor was like, yeah, we see this a lot. It's kind of common in Brooklyn. They're wandering the streets, they pick stuff up, you know, and so and also, you know, this particular, the streets in New York are filthy because street sweeping has been suspended for the last 2 months. So there hasn't been street sweeping, so there's garbage everywhere, you know what I mean? And so it's just kind of like, ugh. But anyway, so that happened. But I remember thinking as we were going to the vet, because I was so scared, you know, like what if this ruins his life? Like what if he's like mentally impaired for the rest of his life? And like, can I handle that? And I just remember thinking like, God, and I remember thinking just like, geez, like this material world is just brutal. Like, and the thing is, we know it. Like we know, like this is something in Sanskrit and Vedic texts. It's like, you know, the world of samsara, like the world of birth and death. You know, birth, death, old age, and disease. It's like we know that's going to happen, but at the same time, we go through life thinking like, oh, it's not going to happen. But when it does, it's like there's so much pain and anxiety and worry that goes along with it. And in that moment, I was like, am I in a space to just think of a higher principle and like get over it and be transcendental? And I was like, I don't know, you know. And so it's there's that gap between philosophy and realization, between, you know, transcendentalism and humanism, you know. But so anyways, that happened yesterday, and the world's a scary place. Don't let your puppies, kittens, or children pick up anything, eat anything off the ground.
Get in those, yeah, especially the massive piles of marijuana.
Especially in Brooklyn.
Yeah, watch out for those big piles. Now, I'm appreciating you sharing, DG, so much. Yeah, really. Okay, where's our realization that we want to talk, in alignment with that? And just thinking about in the Mahabharata, the great Purana, the great text of India that speaks about the history of India. And in that, a great king is questioned by death personified. That, what's the greatest mystery? There's a whole beautiful story behind it, but what's the greatest mystery of this world? And the king responds that the greatest mystery of this world is that although we see death around us all the time, we don't think it's going to happen to us. And somehow or other, there's a veil. And our dear friend, community member Barbara Slane, she runs a weekly program called In Spirit at the Bhakti Center that is it's a conversation about approaching the subject of death before dying, like really actually approaching our mortality as human beings so that we can live fully, like if that fear is unconsciously running our lives, that fear underneath, which is the greatest fear, we whatever fear we have in life ultimately comes to like the finality that our body, that we will not exist, the fear of not existing, the fear of this life not having meaning. And so to be able to approach that topic, what I found, and Brian, we were on a call last Wednesday, and we, it's just the most empowering topic, to not avoid it, right? Because like you're saying, it's like it's gonna hit, right? It's like it is a reality that we're all, there's 100% mortality rate, that no one has ever lived in a human body eternally. And so we're faced with that reality. It's something that we don't think it's gonna happen to us. There's a veil that kind of covers us, and there's a reason for that, according to the Vedas, because our soul is eternal. The idea of dying is so it's so not true that it's like we don't believe it. And so but then our material body does cease to exist, so if we're in that material consciousness, we're in that bodily consciousness, that fear, that's where that fear exists, and it's very real, because we're not fully, spiritually awakened, where we're not on the bodily platform. At least I'm not, for sure. And so then that fear exists, right? That fear is very real. We experience it in acute ways, in little ways, throughout our everyday life. We experience that fear, the restricting effect that it has on our self-expression, and then that gross, the fear of death, that source of the fear, the fear that I can die, and I will not exist, after my body dies. What an immense fear that comes from that. So to start approaching it right now, like you had this experience where it's visceral. You had this experience, you're driving your baby to the hospital and your heart's breaking, and you're going through like, oh my God, my life may never be the same. I may lose something that's more dear to me than practically life itself. I may lose something like that, and my life will never be the same. And it's like, it has such an impact, and that we've all, many of us have experienced it, whether it's a loved one, whether it's a scare, or it's a loved one that we were close to that's left their body, or a friend. And if we haven't, we will at some point. It's inevitable. And how to actually move toward that biggest fear, how to move toward that, and to walk with that, so that it's not under the surface, potentially, disrupting and running our life. So.
Yeah. Our friend Laura, she said her son once put a Band-Aid from a library floor in his mouth once, and she almost died.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And so I think it's, the immediate thing I remember feeling was just this sense of the anxiety and loss of control. Realizing there's no control that I have of what's going on here, and so it's just scary moments. But I know I have friends who have lost children. I can't imagine what that's like. Human children You know what I mean? And I have friends who have babies who get sick, and I've taken them to the hospital, and just can't imagine, you know?
It's devastating. That's the reality of it. I mean, our hearts, when we give our heart to somebody or something and somebody leaves their body, it's crushing. It's such a crushing experience, you know?
Yeah. Or what to speak of leaving their body, but also just suffering, just being sick or being ill or being, you know, crippled or, you know, whatever it might be. Just taking one is taking the life completely, but also it might just be taking the life that you had imagined, you know? Like one is like, oh, my baby dies, or what, my baby gets an illness that affects the way they live their life for the rest of their time on this earth, you know? And so it's like it steals the life that I had all planned out for us, you know?
This material world, Srila Prabhupada said, it's not a place that's fit for ladies and gentlemen, you know? I'm appreciating, like, okay, like this is the reality. Like we're looking at this Zoom group right now, like the likelihood that, you know, one of us, you know, gets cancer, has like the likelihood and the statistics, you know, that's just the reality. Like that is the reality, you know. And it's like, man, that's so intense, you know, that someone will have an abrupt, you know, departure from their body, from this life. Like we're looking at this group right now, or that somebody very, very close to them will have that, you know. It's like, those are the statistics. Like that's the bargain. Like that's the deal of this world. And that's just like, man, the material world is a bad bargain, you know. And unless, and this is our whole premise, unless we're really seeing, like, what is this training ground? Like, what is this environment? What's the purpose of it? Unless we're seeing that, if we're trying to build a sandcastle, we're trying to build our eternal home on this planet, it's gonna punish us, you know. But if we're building that kingdom internally in our relationship with our higher power and awakening ourselves spiritually, then, like Saint Francis prays, you know, and you know, so many, you know, we have so many examples of friends and teachers and people, if we look at, you know, throughout history, that have walked through death, that have walked through disease, that have walked through suffering, that have walked through pain, you know, with grace, you know, and that have walked through it with a smile on their face, with compassion in their heart, with experiencing the greatest joy of their life. And so it's like this aspiration that that's what I'm seeking. There's an internal kingdom that I'm seeking, and everything else to do with my body, everything else to do with this world and this life is meant to support that journey within and that awakening. And to the degree that we're going internal and we're connecting spiritually, connecting with our higher power, then we can walk through, you know, all the fears of this life, all the challenges of this life. We can walk through them in that consciousness, finding the opportunity to serve, to express love, and to further awaken, you know. And that's, you know, when we're talking about it, it's like, yeah, like, let's be real. Like, let's be real with the realities of this world. Let's not be the flamingo, you know, the lions coming, you know, like the cartoon, right? The flamingo sticks his head in the ground, right?
It's an ostrich here.
Okay. I thought flamingos did that. Okay.
Flamingos are the pink birds that stand on one leg.
Okay, you got it. Okay,
Ostriches sing their
the ostrich. You guys are with me. You guys are with me. So the flamingo, when it sticks its head in the ground, the ostrich, when it sticks its head in the ground, right? And it's like, okay, that it's going to go away. You know, I'm going to be able to distract myself with, you know, with pursuits of the material world and pleasures, and I'm going to be able to distract myself. And oh, whoa! But all the while, there's these inevitable things that are going to take place. You know, and damn, that's intense. You know, like that's the environment, right? And okay, and there's a truth that's beyond it. And what spiritual teachings are helping us to see is, this is just a training ground. This is just a test ground. Each life is like a chapter in our book of eternality. It's a little dot on the line of eternality, that we exist. There's never a time when we didn't exist. It's what the Gita says. And that when we leave these bodies, we're reborn again. You know? And so to be able to, you know, really look at it, you know, very, very, very honestly, to look at this environment and this situation, and then to ask ourselves, like, what am I making of it? You know, and what is my game plan for this life, to be able to to be able to move toward that spiritual truth. And it's a journey. It's like a backpacking journey, and there's going to be storms. It's going to be intense. We're going to forget. We need each other to stay on point, to stay focused, but just to know the storms are going to come. It's going to be intense. There are all these different aspects of it, and it can be completely transformational, and it can be the wildest adventure that we've ever experienced in our lives. What we make of it.
Have you ever had a near-death experience?
I have. Yeah, I've had near-death experiences for sure. Yeah.
Multiple?
Yeah, multiple. Yeah, I've had, and I kind of flash back to my youth. Like when I was in LA, there were, I had a bunch of close calls. I was riding motorcycles when I was in LA, and this is about 9-10 years ago now. And I had some really close calls on motorcycles. I had some. Then when I was younger, and I was a little bit I had certain business practices that required, personal protection and sometimes, hairy situations. And so, definitely, near-death experiences for sure. And I remember in those times, I remember the deepest prayer of my life. I remember like the most rapturous, like gratitude and prayer, and or even not near death, but like, experiences where it's like, oh my God, my life could be ruined forever. I could go to jail for a long time, or I could, I lose a loved one, or, those types of experiences. And in the right consciousness, it can really it brings out, it's brought out the best in me in my life. It's helped me to really, really look at my life and to really look at what's important and what's worth, fretting about and getting caught up with and, distracted with. And so I don't recommend it, for anybody to self-inflict near-death experiences. But the power I've experienced from them is just puts life into perspective, puts really what's most important into perspective. And I know that's what people get, at the time of death. That's all the research and all the stories show that life flashes before our eyes. And if we lived a life that was truly meaningful, there's a sense of peace and ease and acceptance and surrender that takes place at that time. And if we lived a life that wasn't true to ourselves, if we lived a life that other people expected of us, or we lived a life of fear or whatever it was, then all those regrets flash before our eyes. And so how can we die now, right? How can the ego die now so that we can wake up to that life?
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking myself right now, because I want to live my life fully. I want to experience the most meaning in every single moment of my life that I possibly can. And I don't want to miss. I want to miss all the love and all the opportunities for service and exchange that's available. So I miss a lot. I know that, right? I miss a lot, and it's painful, like to reflect on it and just be like, man, I'm ungrateful. Like, how do I miss being grateful for you, or my wife? How do I miss those moments to express that gratitude, And I do not want to miss those moments. And I've spent so much of my life missing those moments. And so sometimes it takes a big wake-up call to kind of shake us out of, whatever distracted kind of state that we're in, and to really see this environment that we're in, see the fragility of life, and to see, there's so much that we can take for granted, and to be able to use that as a catalyst, to be able to use the fragility of life and our relationships and the inevitable death that we'll experience in these bodies, to be able to live fully in gratitude, give ourselves fully to our life.
Yeah. Thank you for the reminder, Vira. Appreciate it every day.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. Super grateful for you and grateful for all of you guys. And
Thank you to all of our listeners. Thank you for joining us every day. We appreciate you all so much. All of us joining us live on Zoom, all of us joining us on Instagram. All of you listening out there, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube. If you're listening on our podcast platforms, please download, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it. It helps us a lot, goes a long way. we're here every day, and we would love for you to join us. If you want to get on our little live Zoom group where you can participate in the chat board, interact with us, you can write to prayerrevolution@bhakticenter.org or go to bhakticenter.org/online to find our other podcasts as well as other cool content and courses, offerings that we're doing at the Bhakti Center. And we want to hear from you. So stay in touch, be in touch. Let us know how you're doing. Be well, stay well, everybody. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Love you, Doyal. Thank you guys so much for your presence, for being with us. Have an empowering day. Let's live today like we're going to die tomorrow. Let's give our day, our full intention, our full energy, whatever we're stepping into next. Let's give our full heart to it.
Thank you so much. Take care, everybody.
Hari.
See you later, guys. Thanks so much, Vira. Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Trisha. Thanks, Bhakti Yoga Dog. Hey, Bhakti Louie. Thank you. Bye-bye.